In this video, I'm going to show you how to capture incredible traffic trails.
This is one of those camera skills that really demonstrates the magic of photography. By using a long exposure in the low light of the evening, the smooth motion of car lights translates into wonderful streaks of colour throughout the frame. And the best part is, it really is very easy. All we need to do is use a tripod and make a few adjustments to our exposure. But before we get stuck into camera settings, it's worth taking a moment to think about your composition. Anyone can take traffic trail photos, but the real challenge is finding a composition where the glowing lines form interesting shapes and patterns that complement your frame. So look for winding roads and intersections and find an interesting vantage point. Why not shoot from very low down like this, or even from a central reservation? We found a spot overlooking a coastal road where two winding roads met. We arrived just after sunset at our chosen spot as the snow began to fall. Often low light like this is better than pitch dark conditions, as there will still be a little bit of detail in the sky. With the camera fixed to a tripod and the composition sorted, the next step is to pre-focus. Autofocus can struggle at night, so we focus a third of the way into the scene and then switch to manual focus to lock it in place. As for exposure, we use manual mode and set up for a long shutter speed. All scenes are different, but here's a good starting point. We set the shutter speed to 30 seconds, the aperture to f16 and the ISO to 100. Then we take a test shot, and if it's too dark or bright, adjust the aperture up or down. With everything set up, all that's left to do is wait for the vehicles to whiz by. Look out for lorries and buses, as changes in height will add variety to the light trails. And flashing lights can also be really fun, as they result in a dash pattern across the frame. If, like our scene here, traffic is sparse, then as long as we keep the camera position fixed, we can take several shots and piece them together later on in Photoshop. So here's my array of traffic trail photos taken on the night. And I've got 7 different shots here that I'm going to combine. Now I'm using Photoshop CC for this, but equally you could use Photoshop Elements or Photoshop CS. Pretty much any version of Photoshop will work for this technique. Now I can hit Command or Control and A, that's Command A on a Mac, Control A on a PC to select the entire canvas, and then Command or Control and C to copy. Then I can go back to my first image here and Command or Control and V to paste in a second image on top. Then I can just repeat for all of the others here. So select all, copy and paste. Again, select all, copy and paste. Select all, copy and paste, and finish off with the last 2. So now if I bring up my layers panel here, you can see I've got all of my images here on separate layers inside one single document. Now, if you're using Photoshop for this, there is a slightly quicker way. You can go to File and Scripts, and then you can use the Load Files into Stack feature here. But it doesn't take long to do it manually. Now, all I need to do is change the blend mode of all of my layers here, and I need to first off select them all, so I can just hold Shift and click between the top there and the one above the background layer there to select all of those 6 layers. And then I just need to go to the blend mode drop down here in the layers panel and change this from normal to lighten. And now you can see that gives me the effect that I want, where I'm only really seeing the lighter areas on each layer. And effectively, this allows me to blend all of my different images here if I just perhaps toggle them all off and then turn them on one by one. So there's the first one. And then we have the second one, and keep building it up until we get our array of lights. Now, you might find that there are some details that perhaps you don't want to include in the final blend. And on this particular set of images here, you can see on this layer here in the middle, we're getting a little bit of flare here. So I might want to just highlight that layer, add a layer mask, and then I can grab the brush tool and paint with black to hide any areas that I don't want to include in the mix. So we can fine tune the blend of images in this way. Now you might also find that moving clouds in the sky present a little bit of a problem, because when we blend with the light and blend mode, we get this kind of staggered cloud effect. But we can fix this if we just highlight one layer. The top layer will do for this, and then I can grab the lasso tool, or the polygon lasso tool from the tools panel over here, and just make a really rough selection around the sky like this. And then I can hit Command or Control and J to duplicate that selection to a new layer, and then I can just change the blend mode here back to normal. So now we're just getting the sky from one of our frames rather than a blend of several of the frames. And I'm happy with that. So that's my finished mix of traffic trails.
So there we have it. That's how to capture traffic trails that wrap around your landscape in amazing ways.